a good freestyler, all right? Hey, yo! Y'all came here to listen to rhymes, right? Yeah. Huh? There's 30 pages of rhymes in this motherfucker. All right? So, all I want to do is spit my all I want to do is spit my all right? Not that! Hey, yo, y'all don't want to hear this? All right, y'all don't want to hear this? I stop, y'all don't want to hear this? Y'all want to hear this or not?
Jermaine Williams, aka CANIBUS, born December 9th, 1974. It's been almost 30 years and CANIBUS is still asking, can I bust?
Y'all want to hear this or not?
He's most notable for his battle-style rhymes and his classic diss track toward LL Cool J that many claim to be a top 5 diss track of all time. This was early in CANIBUS's mainstream career and led to great expectations for the MC, as many thought his career would end with him being one of the best rappers of all time, at least from the East Coast. In the 90s, hip-hop music was a lot more hardcore, as they say, and almost every rapper seemed to benefit from looking, acting, and writing rhymes that were aggressive and gave off the impression they were the toughest of the bunch. CANIBUS fit right into this mold, where you didn't have to be the emotional, pretty boy-esque rapper trying to sell stories of you being heartbroken, or even rhymes much about your fortune and what type of wristwatch you got on. It was rough, rugged, and raw. Baggy jeans, bubble jackets, beanies, and a scowl on your face were the main ingredients to a successful rap persona, along with lyrics of oppression and demoralizing other rappers' skills as inferior to what you were spitting. This bravado can easily be taken the wrong way and cause a rapper to expose himself if not consistently in character, or somehow the world found out his lifestyle didn't match his bars. CANIBUS's style was as hard as they came on tracks, with his usual lines of defeating other rappers on wax and them not being as skilled as him, so shouldn't bother to compete. He also had songs like I Honor You that touched on broken trust in relationships and the importance of choosing the right one, seeing the signs before it's too late. Or tracks like Negronometry that bounced around many topics that made you think about the state of the world at the time. But it was also tracks like this that made some think his subjects weren't well thought out, and by the end of the song, you leave feeling like that was a good idea, but what the f was he talking about? Subject matter aside, there's no doubt in his prime, CANIBUS was lyrically and skill-wise one of the dopest rappers of his generation. He had a tall ceiling and high expectations in the era of the hardcore artist, but most feel as though he dropped the ball in a few places and fell well short of those expectations. Here are 3 reasons why. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth Music. Let's get it, man.
Ghetto scholars like me who study street calculus utilize every letter of the Arabic alphabet to touch a part of your body that makes you feel erogenous.
CANIBUS is a Jamaican-American rap artist from the Bronx, New York, by way of Kingston, that made huge waves in the 90s and was seen as potentially the next great lyricist for his display on his earlier works. He started off in a duo called THEM under the name CANIBUS Sativa until 1996, when the duo split and CANIBUS ventured on as a solo artist. Things began to take off for the well-traveled MC when he featured on the Lost Boys song Music Makes Me High. But what really gave his music career the initial legs it needed to stand on was being featured on a song with the biggest rapper in the world at the time, LL Cool J, for the song 4321 for LL's 7th studio album.
Yo, bust it. The blood in my brain superconductor, the supreme intelligent being you don't want to scuff with. Cassette tapes encased in a chemical substance that'll cause it to explode if you try to dub it.
Stunt number 1, the rap beef with LL Cool J. Your naive confidence gets crushed by my dominance. It was one line from LL's 4321 song that was an obvious shot at CANIBUS, along with his entire verse seeming like lyrical disrespect coming CANIBUS's way. The feud between the two artists stemmed from CANIBUS meeting LL Cool J and asking him about his arm tattoo. CANIBUS informed Cool J he liked the tattoo and wanted to get one just like it. LL took that as CANIBUS trying to bite his style, which was a no-no in those days, and responded by telling the young MC he wouldn't allow it and that he should bring his own flavor and be more original. Fast forward to the making of the song 4321, CANIBUS had a line saying to LL, "Yo, let me borrow that mic on your arm." All in admiration still for the rap great, but LL didn't take it that way after hearing it, so when he recorded his verse, it was clear it was directed at CANIBUS. Before the song released, LL approached CANIBUS about squashing the tension and both men changing their verses on the song, therefore no one will know they had beef. CANIBUS humbly did change his verse, but when the song released, LL still had his original verse going at CANIBUS. Feeling disrespected and slighted, the young MC, who hadn't put out an album yet, decided to return fire at the hip-hop giant with a song called Second Round KO, fully dissing Cool J. Although CANIBUS agreed, he later felt he had to respond if he was a true MC, because in those times you were seen as soft if you didn't respond to a challenge. He later blamed Wyclef for leaking the song, but the damage was done. It followed with one of the best music videos of the 90s in my opinion, featuring heavyweight champ Mike Tyson on the song and in the video. It made CANIBUS not look like such an easy win for Cool J, and like mentioned earlier, many hold it as one of the more legendary diss records in history. But what this diss record and video did was created a skyscraper of expectation for CANIBUS, one that was almost impossible to meet. Thereafter, none of his music ever reached what Second Round KO did, and he was viewed as a disappointment.
Plus the way I rhyme is prime like Optimus, a rapologist. You can sit and do the knowledge with from GEDs to degrees from Ivy League colleges.
Stunt number 2, his first album. Much of the disappointment began with the release of his debut album, CANIBUS. It was long awaited and sold the most of any of his albums, but critics were left highly unsatisfied. Listening to 4321 and Second Round KO, critics didn't expect to get what they got on the album, with many of them feeling his subject matter lacked a well thought out direction. His lyrics weren't as skillful as his previous features and singles, and also that production-wise, the album was lackluster. It's one thing to have an album not meet the standards expected of you, but it's another for it to be your very first album. Issues with his lyrics lacking variety also plagued CANIBUS, as critics felt he was essentially a one-trick pony. When he's in battle mode and had a chance to rap about his skills being better than yours, it's right up his alley, opposed to when he's tackling serious topics, then he just sounds out of place. I never agreed with that because even today I hear some of CANIBUS's introspective songs and they can still relate to what's going on today, and I get what he was trying to accomplish as an artist. I do agree that his production on his first album didn't quite match CANIBUS or effectively show his best sides as an artist, which he later blamed Wyclef for. Either way, the expectations began to simmer for CANIBUS, and everything from then on just seemed further and further away from his great potential. Stunt number 3, his music not being that good.
To say that I was blackballed would mean that somebody did it, and then if you say somebody did it, who did it? Like, I wouldn't say that I was blackballed.
No, CANIBUS was not blackballed. If you're looking for an underground sound from a rapper that's highly skilled and isn't afraid of experimenting with his music, then look no further than CANIBUS. But that's exactly what hindered CANIBUS from becoming a solidified mainstream rapper you could put on radio and TV. His second album released officially in July 2000, but had already pretty much leaked months earlier, and it led to poor sales, causing Universal to drop CANIBUS after the album. But other than low sales, the album was more of CANIBUS using his signature hardcore style over poor production that didn't make you want to move or weren't radio friendly. That followed with a satirical third album that made fun of or was told jokingly from the perspective of the rap stan. It was a cool attempt to do something new in hip-hop, but wasn't executed well, which became one of the inabilities of CANIBUS. He has great ideas, but they usually don't come out to the world in the best form of expressing them. Also, many accused CANIBUS of sounding way too much like Eminem on album 3. This was also his first album not on a major, and from then on, this was the case. The independent route took CANIBUS backwards with his music, which you don't usually see with artists. He'd put out numerous albums after, and none managed to create the same buzz he had before his first album released and the beef records between he and LL. All in all, CANIBUS was too, like my last feature Keith Murray, a lyrical genius. But when it came to making mainstream music and meeting expectations both self-created and fan-developed, the consensus is his music was just not that good. I personally think CANIBUS was never made for mainstream rap, and his strengths always came when he was put in position to compete. You could tell his favorite parts of being a rapper is actually writing and spitting his lyrics. The thing about that is, that's not all it takes to meet the expectations as a rapper. Salute to CANIBUS, but for these reasons, his growth was stunted. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth, and I'm out.
Military paratroops and camouflage parachutes with flight suits and boots landing on your roof. Eliminate the target is the prime objective. I create psychic walls harder than cement.